It all started on an ordinary evening, when Emily, a single mother of two, stopped at a gas station after a long day at work. Emily worked 2 jobs just to make ends meet, and she often carried the weight of the world on her shoulders. She wasn't wealthy, she wasn't famous, but she was strong in her own quiet way. Her children, Noah who was 8, and little Grace who was just 5, were waiting in the backseat as Emily pulled into the brightly lit gas station on the outskirts of town. Emily had been thinking about the bills she had to pay and the groceries she still needed to buy. Her mind was full, her body was tired, but she carried on like she always did because she had no choice. She got out of her car, swiped her card at the pump, and began filling up the tank. The station wasn't too busy. A couple of cars parked by the convenience store, a man talking on his phone near his truck, and a group of young men leaning against their car across the lot. At first, Emily didn't pay much attention to them, but soon, she noticed their eyes on her. They weren't just casually glancing. They were staring, smirking, and whispering among themselves. Emily felt that familiar knot of unease in her stomach, the one every woman knows too well. She kept her head down, hoping they'd leave her alone. But hope doesn't always work. One of the men, tall and broad with tattoos running down his arms, stepped forward and called out to her. "Hey, pretty lady, what's a fine mom like you doing out here all by yourself?" His tone was mocking, not complimentary. Emily ignored him, keeping her focus on the gas pump. The man laughed, and his friends joined in, emboldened by her silence. Another added, "Ah, don't be shy. We're just trying to be friendly." Emily's heart pounded faster. She glanced toward the convenience store, wondering if she should run inside. But her children were in the car. She couldn't just leave them. She prayed silently for these men to lose interest, but instead they moved closer. One of them circled her car and peered through the back window at Noah and Grace. "Cute kids," he sneered. "You sure you can take care of them all on your own?" The way he said it wasn't a question. It was a threat. Emily felt a chill run down her spine. She pulled her jacket tighter around herself and said firmly, "Please leave us alone." Her voice trembled, but she stood her ground. That only made them laugh harder. "Ooh, the mama's got some fire," the leader mocked. "What are you gonna do if we don't?" Emily's pulse raced. She wanted to scream, to call someone, but before she could reach for her phone, the sound of deep rumbling engines filled the air. The ground seemed to vibrate beneath her feet. From the street next to the gas station, a group of motorcycles rolled in, their headlights cutting through the night. There were at least 10 of them, dressed in leather jackets, steel boots, and helmets gleaming under the lights. The bikers pulled into the station and parked their bikes in a semicircle, as if they'd rehearsed it. The thugs who had been tormenting Emily suddenly shifted uncomfortably, their laughter fading. One of the bikers removed his helmet. He was older, with a gray beard and piercing eyes. He looked at Emily first, then at the men surrounding her. His voice was calm but carried the weight of authority. "Is there a problem here?" The leader of the thugs smirked, trying to hide his nervousness. "Nah, we were just talking to the lady. Having a little fun." The biker's eyes narrowed. "Doesn't look like she's having fun." The rest of the bikers stepped closer, their presence alone enough to make the air heavy with tension. Emily could barely breathe. She didn't know these men, but the way they positioned themselves between her and the thugs made her feel, for the first time that night, a little safer. Her children peeked out from the car windows, their wide eyes fixed on the scene unfolding before them. Another biker, taller than the first, took a step forward. His arms were crossed, and his voice was low but steady. "You boys need to walk away. Now." The thugs exchanged nervous glances. They weren't so brave anymore. One tried to laugh it off. "Relax, we weren't gonna do anything." But the bikers didn't budge. They stood firm, a silent wall of protection around Emily and her children. The leader of the gang finally spat on the ground and muttered, "Come on, let's get out of here." They slunk back to their car, mumbling under their breath, but none of them dared to look back. Moments later, their engine roared and they sped away into the night. Emily stood frozen, her heart still racing. The bikers slowly relaxed, and the gray-bearded one turned to her. His expression softened. "You okay, ma'am?" Tears welled up in Emily's eyes. She nodded, her voice breaking. "Thank you, I didn't know what to do. My kids." The biker glanced at Noah and Grace in the backseat, then looked back at Emily. "You don't have to thank us. Nobody should ever be treated like that. We just happened to be riding by." One of the younger bikers crouched down to Noah's window and gave him a gentle smile. You got a brave mom there, kid. She stood her ground. Noah nodded, still clutching his sister's hand tightly. For a moment, the gas station was quiet except for the hum of the fluorescent lights. Emily wiped her tears and whispered, "You don't know how much this means." I was so scared. The gray-bearded biker placed a reassuring hand on her shoulder. "You're safe now. That's what matters." The bikers stayed with Emily until she finished pumping her gas. A couple of them even walked her into the convenience store so she wouldn't feel alone. The cashier, who had seen everything from inside, thanked them as well. When Emily finally drove away with her children, she glanced in the rearview mirror. The bikers were still there, engines rumbling, watching until her car disappeared down the road. They weren't just bikers that night. They were guardian angels on two wheels. What Emily didn't know was that this group of bikers belonged to a motorcycle club known for doing exactly this kind of thing. They weren't outlaws or troublemakers, as stereotypes often paint bikers to be. They were men and women who believed in protecting the vulnerable, standing up against bullies, and making sure people like Emily never felt alone. That night, when Emily tucked her children into bed, Noah asked her, "Mom, were those bikers superheroes?" Emily smiled through her tears and kissed his forehead. In their own way, yes. They were. And in the hearts of that little family, those bikers would forever remain heroes. Stories like this remind us that courage and kindness can appear when we least expect it. Sometimes it's a stranger in a leather jacket, sometimes it's a group of people with engines roaring like thunder. But no matter how they appear, they remind us that good still exists in this world. So the next time you feel like hope is lost, remember Emily's story. Remember that even when darkness seems overwhelming, light can ride in on the sound of a motorcycle engine. Because heroes don't always wear capes. Sometimes, they wear helmets.